Hello.
Hi, we're live. I figured I was going late, so we're live, everyone. Hi, Hammer.
Hello. What the hell's Polly doing here?
You mean on time?
Yes. You're here before me. How the hell did that happen?
Well, this is an interesting way to start a stream. But hi, everyone.
We have a history.
And it's a Skeptalk.
Here's the guy I thought would beat us all here.
Right?
Yeah, I'm having a little problem joining while I'm troubleshooting.
Sounds like the problem is winning.
Does it sound bad? Does it sound any different now?
You sound better. You sound better.
A little tinny.
Okay.
How go the internet things in where you're at?
Yeah. No, it actually was.
Oh, you're roboting a little bit.
It was a problem with the cable, actually. And
Okay.
mic stand and mic falling on the floor.
Fun.
It's just kind of exciting. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the stream.
Yes. Welcome to the Star Trek stream. I was running late, so I'm like, shit, I'll just start and people will come in as they come in. And as I hit live, everyone just came in. So we're here tonight to discuss the pilot episode of Deep Space Nine, Emissary. And we've got one more person who may join us. Failure Terminated may be coming, but after today, I don't know if he has it in him, which is okay because drama sucks.
Okay.
But if he has the link, so if he's up for it, he will be joining us.
I'm sorry to do this, but Hammer, I just want to make sure that you understand what reject situation is.
What rejects what is?
She just sent you a DM, an urgent DM.
Okay.
Or I don't know if it's a DM. I guess no, it's actually a post.
Oh shit!
Because I saw it was not a DM.
I don't see anything in my Twitter, and I don't see anything in Discord.
She is looking for some help hosting tonight. She can't do it.
Okay. Well, Chaos is the backup.
Okay. She sent it to you in Chaos. I just thought you should know in case you didn't know. So anyway, sorry to interrupt our stream here.
Oh, I see it.
It's all good.
All right. Anyway, back to the amazing, and I loved this DS9 thing, and you got to realize that I just watched this for the first time.
Oh, okay.
When I told you that I had not been watching, I was not a DS9 person at all, and so I started binge watching DS9. There's so much material in DS9. It's such a rich universe. I really enjoy it, and I'm actually going back and rewatching.
Hey, it's Failure. Hi, Failure.
Hey guys.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good.
You ready to talk some Trek?
Sure. What topic are we on? Are we on gold press platinum? What are we on?
We're talking about the pilot episode of Deep Space Nine, and how awesome it is, because I actually really like it as a pilot episode goes. It's one of my favorites as pilots go, because it's not as campy as the rest of them.
People do say that of all the pilots, the Emissary probably stands out as the best. And it's not the best DS9, but of all the Trek pilots, it's probably the best. Because the Voyager pilot is just awful. Just awful.
Yeah.
It convinced me to not watch that series. It literally drove me away from that series.
I can understand that.
Like it's Captain Janeway, Superwoman. Like it's
You want some corn? Right? Have some corn.
Like the core idea of it is actually it's not just acceptable, it's interesting. Like weirdo entity pulling, and grabs a Maquis vessel as well as a Starfleet vessel that they were hunting each other, and now they're thrown together in this creepy sort of like body horror way because they're being examined against their will, and yet it turns into guy with a banjo. Like it just it's
Not enough time. Not enough time.
yeah. It's
But
It was just that stupid. It really. Anyway.
I love the reason I love the DS9 pilot is because it ties in next gen so well.
Yes, it does.
Because first you start off with Wolf 359.
Mhm.
And you're thrown right into the middle, and you like because you don't actually see the battle at Wolf 359 in Best of Both Worlds. You have audio of it,
Yeah.
but you don't have
in the aftermath of destroyed ships. But no,
Yeah.
you don't see
you
the
don't
battle
have
itself.
a battle. And then when to have the Emissary open with a actual scene of battle of Wolf 359 is really cool. I really like that idea.
And it's such a great introduction to one of the big motivators of Cisco, which is
Yes.
his wife,
Yes.
and the guilt that he felt for leaving her there.
It yeah, absolutely. And you have Avery Brooks later on saying, I'll play a captain. I don't really know if I'm interested in the adventure aspect of Star Trek, but hold on, you're asking me to play a single father being asked to do a job that he doesn't want to do in a region he doesn't want to do, in a region he doesn't want to be, and he doesn't care about after his wife is dead. It's like, hold on, this is interesting. And you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I can see selling an actor.
It's not a one-dimensional part at all. That's absolutely right. I didn't think of that when you said it. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's, and you don't see him being Horatio Hornblower as, you know, the classic Starfleet captain suggestion, but Cisco is bent over his dead wife saying, I just can't leave her here. Like, wow, that's how you are introduced to this guy. That's deep. It's,
well, it made me want to know more about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't like the setup. I have the same problem with Voyagers I have with DS9 in this issue, where they take a storyline from a previous show and use it to start off their show. Because Wolf 359 is not part of DS9.
No,
Wolf 359 is part of TNG. So you're taking a storyline that was built and orchestrated at the greatest point in TNG and used to start off DS9. Just like you took Voyager and started it off with DS9. They're bad premises in both places.
Well, and you also technically Voyager stole kind of two storylines because Next Gen also had a Maquis storyline near the end of season 7 that kind of tied in with DS9 as well.
And Voyager didn't.
And Voyager
didn't meet up with the Enterprise at the beginning.
No, that's true. It left from DS9. That's true.
I think it's just bad form to do that. I understand why.
Yeah.
They're trying to capture the audience. I get it, but I think it's bad form all the way around.
What do you think of? What does everyone think of Cisco's obvious hatred of Picard at the beginning of
hatred? Is it hatred?
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, he killed his wife. He killed his wife. Yeah, that's hatred.
That's hatred. That's pure hatred.
I like that somebody didn't like Picard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because it's like I like Picard, but it's just like, you know, everybody's so sycophantic to him and loves him, and he's just great and he's awesome. And then here's Cisco, where it's like, I'll do my job, you bald fuck. Like, it's just, you know,
yes, sir.
I was a fan of Picard, and like I always heard like, oh, fucking Cisco is such a badass. Like he actually got to punch Q and blah blah blah. Picard never did that. And so like when I first started watching Deep Space Nine, I was like, oh, what the hell is this? I didn't really like it at first. I was like, who's this guy? And like I always like saw pictures of him bald, and I was like, what's up with the hair? Like, all that, yeah.
So it felt kind of like, I don't know, like edgelordy to you, Failure. Like it was just sort of like
trying to one up Picard.
Yeah, I could see that.
I did not like Cisco for the entirety of season 1.
Why?
Partially, I'm going to admit, because I am a huge Picard fan.
Okay, so card prejudice.
But I also had, I think it was also because probably they didn't write a lot of things for him. Like, he had huge arcs later on in the series. But I didn't like his, I guess they needed him to want to stay around for the show to continue, right? But the fact, like, his huge 180 at the end of the pilot kind of was like, whoa, what? You're what? First you didn't even want to be here, and now you're like the Bajoran's spiritual leader? What the fuck? Like that threw me off. Like it, and it seemed like he was okay with being the emissary at first, and then later on he didn't like being the emissary, and then it was like, make up your fucking mind, Cisco. And it was just, for a while I had a hard time liking Cisco.
I wasn't really a fan of the Bajorans and all that. I was like, ugh, another Bajoran storyline. God damn.
Yeah. I don't know if
it could be worse. It could be Ferengi.
Yeah, I love the Ferengi. What are you talking about?
You're funny as fuck.
I hate them.
Why you hate that it rains all the time on their planet? Is that what it is?
No, I just think that they had the opportunity to do them right. And even Armin Shimmerman said this, is that he is embarrassed on how he changed how the Ferengi worked. Because they based it on his initial acting job when he did the Ferengi with the laser whips and all that kind of shit. I forget what the episode was.
The last Outpost.
Armin Shimmerman was one of those 3 Ferengi, and they based how the Ferengi went forward on his acting from that point. They couldn't change it because and he said, I should never have acted the way I did because it made the Ferengi look stupid, and the Ferengi have continued to look stupid. They're just, I literally have to skip DS9 episodes that center around Ferengis. I just can't watch it.
They have, like, it's really interesting to watch Quark though, because Quark is like, he is such a Ferengi, but at the same time, you can see how he's affected by living with freaking humans.
Yeah, look, can I offer kind of a compromise position?
Sure.
What the Ferengi too is I can get too much of the Ferengi really fast. I'm with Hammer a lot on that. But the Ferengi are like licorice, or like a really strong spice, like cream of tartar or something like that, where it's just so easy to spoil a recipe with too much of it, but a little bit adds an interesting dynamic to it. And I also think that the Ferengi get played too stupid. They should have been played smart, and they could have had some interesting storylines where Ferengis succeed or actually do something, noble and intelligent. And that was a dimension that it just flat missed.
I guess you didn't like the Moogie episodes then.
No, exactly. Just anything that showed them to be vile and craven and just, latinum motivated was, it just made them too one-dimensional. They could have been more. That's all I think. But said, they do some funny stuff sometimes. And as a little bit of humor added to a storyline, it's fine. But the Ferengi-centered stuff, no.
So I guess you didn't like when Quark was cross-dressing.
The only person amongst the Ferengi who I could give a pass to is Rom. He is the least Ferengi of the Ferengi.
Yeah, because he kind of drifted away from what they wanted.
I hate
it because he turns into a fucking space.
I like Nog.
I like Nog too. Nog was probably one of my favorite Ferengi.
I don't know. The Ferengi do get annoying. It depends on the episode. There are a few that I really don't like, but there are some that I really enjoy. Like this is what we do. We start out talking about the pilot, but we always end up talking about other episodes too. But I really like the Ferengi episode where the Nagus gets all like changed. because the prophets or the beings in the wormhole change him to not want profit and not be greedy. And I really liked that episode. That was a funny episode.
For me, what annoyed me even from like episode 1 was Jake Sisko.
Yeah, Jake's annoying.
If we're going to talk about annoying characters that are hated, can we just talk about Keiko O'Brien for a minute?
Oh fuck!
Oh, we could dedicate an entire episode on hating her.
Here we go.
Miles, like
they shouldn't have gotten married. Fuck, they really shouldn't have.
They could have done better.
That actress got lucky that he was such a likable character because she wasn't.
Yeah. The episode, like, I know this is a unpopular opinion, and that's fine. That's fine. I liked the majority of the Bajoran episodes. I really dug the aspects of Bajoran religion because Trek tends to avoid religion, but when they do it, like the episodes with Klingon religion are, I think, some of the best. In terms of religious stuff, I find them fascinating, and the Bajoran religious stuff, I love it as well. The kind of play in between. The super secular Starfleet, they want to see them as wormhole aliens versus no, they're prophets, and the way they're presented is neither one of them are wrong because they really can see the future and they're metaphysical beings that are non-corporeal and et cetera, et cetera. So it really is a matter of perspective, and I love the way they play it up and the intrigues with Kai Wynn and everything. I was a fan, and they end up being some of the least popular, which is unfortunate.
She was a good villain, though.
I thought so.
Kai Wynn was a great villain. I really liked her as a villain.
Yeah, she was a bitch. You hated her, and that's good. Like
that's exactly what you're supposed to be.
Yeah,
right.
Kai Wynn. Oh, what a psychopath!
The sex scenes kind of made me throw up in my mouth a little bit, but that aside, she was a really good villain. I liked her.
Kai Wynn just. Ugh.
And there's this whole thing that goes on Razor Fist where it's like they don't like the Bajorans because they're kind of whiny and so forth. So they're like, Gul Dukat did nothing wrong. And
well, Kira's kind of whiny.
Kira is a little whiny.
I actually found her personality irritating.
Yeah.
I do love the scene where from the pilot, since that's what we're supposed to be talking about, where she tells off Dr. Bashir. I love being in the frontier. This is where heroes are made. The frontier. Like she just rips one. Like,
yeah, that was great.
Home.
Yeah. Fuck you. This isn't about your adventure, Starfleet boy. Like,
yeah. Or the when she's basically calling out, like when DS9 is fucking powerless, and she's like, "Bring it, Gul Dukat. You want a fucking war? Let's go." Like. They've got is shadows basically to fool the Cardassians, and she's like, "Yeah, fine, let's go." That was kind of cool, but other than that, she's very whiny, and like it's kind of weird how later on in the series, like she goes from whiny and pissed off at Sisko to kissing Sisko's ass because she's also a devout. She is very devout.
Mm-hmm.
Religion, yeah.
So it's weird to watch somebody like be a military person, but also like worshiping her commanding officer.
Mm-hmm.
Like weird as fuck. I didn't like that dynamic.
You did not.
No.
Well, now Sisko's mother was a Bajoran goddess or something, right?
No.
Yeah.
Or yeah, was she? I haven't seen.
A wormhole alien took control of a human's body.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it was the storyline when they were back on Earth. They explained like this is a picture of the lady that was your mom, but yeah, one day she just decided to leave your dad for no reason, and it explained that she was taken over, and that's why she had no feelings for Sisko's father.
Holy shit! I'm glad the SJWs haven't gotten a hold of that episode, huh? Zero consent and controlled her and forced her to have a baby.
Jesus, yeah.
It's almost as bad as Fallout Shelter.
It's funny. It's like they're making, they exist out of time. So they're making what they know is going to happen because it can't be any other way, because they know that's what they're going to do. They always had a hard time telling the story from the interactions with the wormhole aliens, with the prophets. As you interact with them and they appear to you as people that you know and speak to you. And it's, you know what? I don't care that you exist out of time. That doesn't mean you have to speak so vaguely.
Yeah.
Or ask a question. What is this time you speak of? What is this yesterday you speak of? Anytime they talk to them about time, they come back with the question, what is this, the phrase you just used, mean? Yeah. What is this? That I get a little tired of that.
So yeah, that whole interaction, in the pilot where he's reliving all of these things, and it's just like, what did you think of that? Like, what did you think of the Cisco's first interaction with the wormhole aliens in the pilot? Because I thought this is a weird position. I thought it was annoying because of the things that Skep just said, but I also thought it was necessary for Cisco's character development. Because they kind of helped him move on from Jennifer's death. Like, not get over Jennifer's death.
It was fascinating how they kept saying, you live here. And it's like, no, this is in the past. But you live
here. Live here. Yeah, you exist here.
No. Yeah. She's gone. She's dead. No, she's a part of you. Yeah.
I found that really and things like that irritate the hell out of me because they're annoying, but they're necessary. If that makes any sense.
I thought because that's the A story, and the B story is trying to protect the wormhole from the Cardassians who are trying to claim it. Yeah, I thought the B story was kind of weak. If I'm going to complain about something about the
space station itself was kind of weak. I don't get how the Federation is supposed to be administering the space station, and the first thing they don't do is just send in, the Enterprise, every starship on scheduled runs every day with just loads and loads of photon torpedoes. Why aren't they doing everything they can to protect a base that's so far and so close to enemy territory? Where is the cloaking device for the space station?
Why didn't they have a pilot episode? Like, they could have done a pilot episode of, and this could have done a send-off as well, having the Enterprise crew assist in refitting the fucking space station.
Yeah, one thing, Hammer, that, and this is true in the Navy too, by the way, is when you put a bunch of munitions at a distant place that is hard to protect, that you don't patrol regularly, those munitions have the risk of either being sabotaged, blown up, or stolen, all of which have bad outcomes for you. So maybe that was in their minds.
That's the other perfect phrase. Why aren't they patrolling that area? They just established a new outpost in a hostile area. Why aren't there starships everywhere?
Because the Federation sucks at fucking this type of thing. No, literally, they do. They sign treaties with their enemies, and then as soon as they sign treaties with their enemies, they're like, oh, everything's okay now, and their enemies are still doing patrols and shit because they're not stupid, and the Federation's like, oh, but we signed a treaty, so we don't have to do that anymore. Like, you see this all the way through every series. It's fucking aggravating.
I would have armed that space station to the teeth.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
They did eventually, but
you have to protect the place.
Yeah, I mean, if you have enough ammunition and enough torpedo launchers, enough phaser banks, you're protecting yourself. You don't really need anybody else. And like I said, there should have been a cloaking device. It's not a starship. There's nothing wrong with it.
It seems like a huge target too. Like, there's so many different fucking races and everything just going through that place. So yeah, that there's so many times security just failed and got compromised in that series.
Well, to get hyper nerdy on it, it doesn't matter if it's a Starfleet. The Treaty of Algeron specifically prohibits them from pursuing cloaking technology.
Developing is the word you're looking for.
Well, either way, it's got nothing to do with
So
shit.
if they didn't
I don't know why I
develop
brought
it,
that
they
up.
just bought it from somebody else. That's perfectly fine.
Oh, you
Yeah,
think
why
so?
didn't they have Corp buy a fucking
Quark bought the warp technology, right? Ferengi bought warp technology.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to do our own thing because that would be a no-no, but that doesn't stop you from saying, hey, Cardassians, do you guys have a cloaking device? Because we'd like to buy one for this much. They didn't develop it. That's what the treaty says. So that's an easy way to get around it. But I really think that they could have justified that in the show regardless. But, you know, I would have done everything humanly possible to make that the most badass, you know, starbase in the galaxy.
There was, but at that time, before the discovery of the wormhole, why? Why would they?
Yeah.
Because they are protecting the Bajorans, because they've already had run-ins with the Cardassians. They destroyed our telescope array several times in several different dimensions.
Okay, well, things are tense with the Cardassians, sure, but
right, and they're right there. So why wouldn't you? They had the planet at one time. It's not like they're unaware of the geography of the location. They know how to do things. It is their space station. It belonged to them. They built it. You know, you gotta be, man. I don't know. Maybe it's different being a backseat quarterback in modern day without thinking about what it would be like, you know, within the Trek universe itself and how things work there. But if I was the admiral in charge of that sector, I'd be like, yeah, I need every photon torpedo you got.
Yeah.
Send it to me because they're all going on that space station. But I guess that ruins some of the plot lines if you do that. Because
who knows? Maybe they did request it and it was just denied or declined or whatever.
or hadn't even come close to arriving yet. I mean, they didn't even have a command officer. When Cisco arrives, the place is literally falling apart around them, and O'Brien's running around just trying to get a tabulation.
And your damn security officer sleeps in a bucket.
I like Odo. I will say that. I like Odo.
But that just kind of reinforces my point, Polly, is they give him Miles O'Brien. Really? Why don't you have 70, 80 people from Star Trek engineering? You know, the engineering corps. Why don't you have everybody from there run out to that station, do everything they can to get up just like that? Why don't you do that? Why don't you protect it? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me that they should leave it so completely vulnerable.
I don't think they cared about the Bajoran sector. Everything they kind of said about the Bajorans is like up to that point on TNG is that they're the pariahs of the galaxy. They're this hard luck case and nobody wants to fucking deal with them.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I've got a slightly different question. I'm just interested in people's impressions, if it was similar to mine. What was your initial impression in your reaction to Dr. Bashir?
What about Dr. Bashir?
What was your initial reaction to Dr. Bashir, his introduction? How did you like his character at first?
Oh, I wanted to bitch slap him.
Yeah, I really didn't like Bashir very much until the later seasons when they made him a little bit more serious of a character, a little bit more battle-hardened, and even before they revealed his genetic tampering and so forth, they had made him a little bit more hardcore than that. And like the first season, he's
a Boy Scout.
Oh yeah. Man. And how many times can you repeat that line about a pre-ganglionic fiber to a post-ganglionic nerve or whatever the fuck? The one question you can get on his medical exam. Like, really? This is his character's crux? You know?
Oh, Nico has it. Oh, look, it's Charming Man.
Yeah. Well done, Nico.
Yeah.
It does look like
another character that like I slowly started to like and really bummed me out. Spoilers, so I had to fucking plug in. That later on they fucking just killed her and replaced her with somebody that was unlikable was Dax. Because like
big fan of Terry Farrell.
It was an interesting relationship between her and fucking Cisco, where it's like, you old man. And like, but it's just a young fucking lady. Why are you calling her old man?
I'm friends with your implant.
Yeah, I'm friends with your symbiote.
Yeah, what did you think about the how they went more into the Trill stuff and how like
it's a little cheesy.
Yeah, like
how it was presented was a little cheesy.
I don't know. I could not get enough of it. I just dug that shit with a fork. I thought it was such a cool concept.
It's just the production values, the whole thing with them swimming in the water and the effects that they use, electricity effects. It just all seemed kind of, you know,
I
Buck Rogers.
A lot. Buck
Rogers.
That's probably fair, Hammer, but I can forgive a lot of this. Such an interesting concept.
At some point, are we going to get into the whole drama with Babylon 5? Because I just talked to Polly about this, I think, last night or this morning.
Oh, that's right, because there's this whole thing that said that was it that DS9 was plagiarized from Babylon 5 or the other way around, or
yeah, the Deep Space Nine plagiarized Babylon 5.
From Babylon 5, yes.
Yeah, because somebody originally pitched the script of what would end up becoming Babylon 5 to the Deep Space Nine
Paramount.
people. Yeah, Paramount. And yeah, they just went on and made their own thing. So a lot of people say that Babylon 5 is a ripoff. It's actually the opposite. I don't know. A lot of people like both shows. I've never seen Babylon 5.
I just got a copy of Babylon 5. What I found disappointing is no Blu-ray version, but there's no Blu-ray of DS9 either. But I just got a copy, started watching it, and it seems more Buck Rogers than some of the episodes in DS9.
It is. You can practically see the wires on the model.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to watching what the stories are about to see if the actual stories and the characters are great. Besides the production value, I can overlook that, but
do you ever just like when taking a peek at a show before watching it, see like the cast, like you know how like Deep Space Nine just has the whole lineup of the crew, and you're like, oh, there's nobody I could relate to, and then you just start watching slowly. Like there's some shows where like Voyager, I got into that real quick. Like I had no problem getting into the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Deep Space Nine took me a second to get in sync with. Being like, all right, this is going to be the crew I'm going to be watching for the next whatever amount of seasons.
I'm with you, Failure. I could get into the Voyager crew pretty easily. Like they're easy to relate to. Like you got Harry Kim, who's like green as hell, and then you got Tom Paris, who's like had every opportunity to do well, and he just keeps fucking up. And like.
I think it's because they're all in the same crew. You don't have different factions or anything. So you're just hearing like more stories about the people. And this you're expected in Deep Space Nine to be like Bajorans and Cardassians and fucking Ferengis and Federation. Yeah. All this together. Okay.
You have a lot of different agendas on a Starship show. Everybody is trying to accomplish the same mission. At least more or less. And in DS9, you have a lot of competing agendas. There's the Kardashian agenda, there's the Ferengi agenda, there's the crew that runs DS9, they have an agenda. And it's very interesting when those things don't match up. You know, that's what sparks happen. That's when interesting plot happens. When you have a starship, everybody's basically pulling on the same set of oars, in my opinion. Conversation.
What do you guys think about Odo as a
I love Odo. One of my favorite Star Trek characters of all time. Once again, I'm in love with the shapeshifting.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great idea. And coming from the Bajoran wormhole.
Mm-hmm. What is my cat doing?
She was breaking something. Open up a bottle or something. About Gold Ducat. What did you guys think of him the first time you got to see that character?
He's interesting because you've got, on one hand, you've got this Cardassian, clearly like a military guy who's proud to be Cardassian, and then you find out a whole bunch of interesting shit about him later on, and then he goes batshit insane. Like, it's just, he's a very interesting, like, usually you're just like, Cardassians are the ones you're supposed to hate. But for a while there, you're like, is Ducat actually a good guy? Do I like Ducat now? And then you're like, oh, no, I don't. No, he's bad. Like, it's hard with Ducat. And then I kind of like that about his character.
I was never a big fan of Odo. I like the actor. I like Renee, but I never really understood his character very well.
Odo, I just always felt like if you touched him, it would feel like silly putty.
But I think I liked him better than I liked Ducat.
Oh, Nico. His name is Garrick, the guy you're thinking of. Nico's trying to remember the name of the Cardassian spy that lived on...
The tailor.
Yes. His name was Elam Garrick.
Yeah, Elam. That's right, because he found his father, and his father called him Elam. That's what it was.
Yeah. And his father was Tane something.
Yeah, Tane. I can't remember.
You asked about the Kardashians. The first time I saw Cardassian, the thing that went through my mind was, that's what they should have made the Klingons look like. And I thought that is a really sinister, reptilian, scary looking thing that talks like a human. And I said, if they had married up the Klingon language and dialect with the Cardassian, I would have liked the Klingons' appearance.
Yeah, the Cardassians,
I love the makeup.
They're so sinister.
Yes. Very sinister.
Like you see how sinister they are in DS9, but I know this is another thing that we do. We bounce from series to series, even when we're talking about a pilot. The episode that cemented how fucked up they were for me was Chain of Command.
Chain of Command, yeah.
Totally different series, but what a great episode that was.
That might be another issue for me, is I can't sit here having watched the show a long time ago during its original broadcast, and then watching it maybe, what was it, about 4 months ago, Polly, that we sat down and I said I was going to do it. Sat down and watched DS9. It was about 4 months ago, 3 months ago, something like that. I watched the entire series all the way through again. And sitting here, I can't pick out an episode and say, that was a great episode.
See, I've got a few that I've
What was a great episode?
Well, I'm only at here's my caveat. I'm only at season 5, episode 23 so far. But as what I've liked, the things that I've liked so far was I think there's only one out of season 1, and that's the one where it's the virus where they all start speaking wrong. And I can't remember the title of that one.
I remember that.
Like Babel or something like that?
Something like that. They were.
It started with Miles, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
Didn't he say something like, but green, blue, jump 359?
Yeah.
And they're looking at him like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he thinks he's talking correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was there was a big jump for me around, like, for a lot of them. I know that a lot of them start happening when Worf is on board as well.
Well,
But
yeah.
the ones,
That's another bone of contention for me, though. The show becomes better when they add a TNG character.
Yeah.
You know, the more TNG characters they add, the better the show gets. Why?
I really liked Heart of Glory, where Eddington dies. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Sorry, but who hasn't seen that?
Piece of shit.
The only episode I can remember that sticks out, and actually, like I said before, I'm probably going to say many times again, is that Polly and I have talked about this, was the episode with Red Squadron having the duplicate Defiant and getting all killed and everything like that. That was cool. I like that one.
I like the episode, the episode where Julian and O'Brien land on the Jem'Hadar planet, where they can't die or something like that.
They're free of Ketchisel White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them is, and they're all trying to be free of Ketchisel White, so they're trying to force Julian to figure out how to do it for all of them.
Yeah.
But there's so many standout episodes to me, Hammer. I find it odd
really
to say that. Yeah, like the two-parter Improbable Cause and the Die Is Cast.
Yeah, that's a great oh man.
You'd have to tell me what it's about because I don't remember.
They are,
and I just watched all this and I don't remember it by name.
It starts with Garrick's shop exploding.
Mm-hmm.
And then, spoilers, it turns out that he was the one who blew up his own shop because different ex-operatives of the Obsidian Order are being killed. And so he seeks out an Aubrentane, the ex-head of the Obsidian Order. Well, at that time was the current head of the Obsidian Order, to find out why. It's just, you find out a lot of Cardassian lore, and you get into Garrick and his spy games and stuff. And I can never get enough Garrick. He's one of my favorite characters on the show. So
I like the and there's a couple of episodes that are just, they hit me right in the feels, and I like them for that reason. And they're hard to watch, but they're stand out for me. And the first one is The Visitor.
Talking about The Visitor. I watched it. I loved it. Too deep though. I can't keep watching it. Punches you right in the fucking face.
Oh yeah, no, that's not something I would watch over and over again. But
describe the episode because I don't recognize it by name.
It starts with old Jake Sisko.
Yeah,
and a visitor shows up, a young girl wondering why he didn't continue to write because he had turned into a great author, and he tells her the story of why he stopped writing.
Yeah. It's a sad fucking episode. And then
it's wild. The actor playing old Jake Sisko is the actor who plays Worf's brother Kern. And the young lady who shows up is the actor who plays Garrick. That's his daughter in real life.
Is that why I recognized Jake Sisko's voice?
Yeah, it's Kern. Yeah.
I had no idea.
And the Candyman, if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, the Candyman. That reference.
And Hard Time is another episode that stood out for me.
Jesus, that's deep, that episode.
Yeah. That was a hard one to watch.
That one is where Chief O'Brien is accused of a crime, and they implant memories of, was it 20 years of imprisonment in him? That's the way they punish people, is not by actually putting them in prison, but implanting the memory of having been in prison in your head. And so,
well, that's convenient.
Yeah, but it's trauma-inducing to be sure, because you have O'Brien. Oh man, like this stuff he went through with his cellmate and everything, and it never really happened, but to him it totally did, and it leaves him completely altered. Yeah, that was deep as hell. But
About the one where he was cloned and the clone thinks that everybody is
Spies.
yeah,
Oh, that was a good one.
yeah, and and the episode he ends up in a cave and it ends up you were cloned, buddy.
Yeah, that was a great one. That was a pretty mindfuck episode, especially if you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
if you're blind and you're watching that episode at the end, you're like, "Whoa, wait, what? What just happened?" I had to rewind it.
Yeah, that one's called Whispers. Is from season 2.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fuck, I haven't watched that episode in a long time. Yeah, I remember that now. I'm gonna go back and watch that. The one where O'Brien as well is shifting through time periods. He'll see like 2 minutes of the future, and that great episode because it
I love the
time travel mystery thing.
And I love the last scene in that at the very end of that episode. He just walks by Quark and goes, "Dabo."
O'Brien is such a fucking good character, and I was listening to an interview about how his Irish accent, like he tried to not like do a stereotypical fucking Irish accent for Star Trek, and it works.
It does.
And then probably my favorite episode of them all is In the Pale Moonlight. I mean, that's...
Remind me because that sounds familiar, but remind me the premise of that episode.
Garrick and Sisko team up in a black bag operation to convince the Romulans that the Dominion is actually going to invade them to trick the Romulans into joining into the war.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's intrigue and spy stuff, and it's a dark episode. The episode plays out with as Sisko telling the story to in the form of a log. It's Captain Sisko just saying, captain's log and personal log rather, and it just him as a series of flashbacks telling the story of what happened. So you get these. Avery Brooks gets a lot of really great acting opportunities to speak in these soliloquies. He's the only actor on stage. People are dying, and here I am worrying about the finer points of morality. I had to keep my eye on the ball. It was great stuff. Great stuff.
Why does Pale Moonlight ring such a bell with me?
Tim Burton's '89 Batman. Yeah. Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Dance with the devil in the pale moonlight. That's what I was. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. That would have driven me crazy.
Well, what were episodes you guys hate? Like when they pop up, you're like, skip.
Oh, the one where they're trapped in that fucking game from the first season, and they're doing hopscotch and singing that.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite one so far.
I thought that one was interesting.
There was a video on YouTube. I could probably track it down if you want, where they were having it was Brooks, and it was a bunch of the members of the cast were on stage. I guess it was at a convention or something like that. And they asked Avery Brooks what his worst episode was from the entire episodes. And he just says, and he just put his head down and he says, Alan Marine, count to 10, Alan Marine. And everyone just busts out laughing. It was his worst episode too. So
I thought that I found that episode very interesting, mostly from the coma aspect of it and the psychological aspect of it. But the rhyme was annoying. I was walking around going, Alan Marine for like days afterwards.
That was the Chula, right?
Yeah.
From the Wadi.
Wadi. Let me see. What other episodes did I hate?
The episode was called "Move Along Home."
Yeah, Move Along Home.
How do you think Deep Space Nine handled their? I think they called it a holosuite instead of a holodeck.
Yeah.
Those episodes. How do you think?
Made the holodeck into a sex brothel.
Yeah.
it made holodecks icky.
Can you imagine what the fucking holosuites would smell like? Oh my god!
Oh man.
Well, the station, I assume, had the same holodeck options as the Enterprise, where it was self-cleaning, but still.
But not everybody used them for the same thing. So Brian and Julian went fucking on adventures. You would see them in like World War I fighter pilot uniforms.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Or pirates. I think Kira and Jax were in what was it? 12th century women's with the big tall hats with the big dresses and the
Arthurian legends.
Had a little banner from the top of the pointed hat, that whole thing. So everybody kind of used them for different reasons. But
Jake and Ben played baseball all the time.
Yeah, the fact that they were run by Quark though immediately became it's all sex.
Well, yeah, because you even had like Jake saying, "Oh, I'm going to take this girl to the holodeck," and Cisco's like, "Oh, no." He's like, "Why not? Because you're too young to go to the holodeck with a girl." And it's like, yeah, because everybody knows what goes on in those fucking filth holes.
I just don't see the holodeck on the Enterprise being portrayed in that light, though.
Yeah, no, it did because remember Broccoli fucking was having sex with the entire crew.
Oh yeah,
he wasn't having sex.
Or
he was sword fighting, if anything.
Remember he had his way with the doctor, and
he fell asleep in her arms, and he had a big crush on Troy. But
I am the goddess of empathy.
Let me slip into your mind.
That's what kills me. You have Geordi saying to him, but recreating people on the holodeck that you know in real life, that's a little weird. And it's like, oh, shut up, Geordi. Everybody would be doing that. You'd be recreating your boss and punching him out 3 times a day.
Totally. Could you imagine the fucking prescription for couples therapy? Okay, you go to the holodeck, you create a holographic representation of your wife, and you tell her everything that you want to tell her. Okay. Now you go and you do the same for your husband.
I gotta wonder if that would actually help or not.
Well, in Voyager, don't you remember in season 7 when the Doctor is stuck with 7 of 9 and Harry Kim? So Tom Paris is in charge of sickbay and Tuvok goes into Ponfar. So Tom recreates his wife for him.
Yep. But it's all done very discreetly by comparison to what goes on in a holosuite or a holodeck.
Everyone knows when you go to the holosuite. And they're all like...
Let me tell you, just from the experience of being on board a ship, if you had that many if you had 300 horny men on a ship, that holosuite would only be ever used for one thing. It would be like porn in the internet. You know, the overwhelming number of transactions, I'm not sure if it was still true initially on the internet, the overwhelming amount of traffic was to porn sites.
Didn't Cisco go watch like baseball games in the holosuite?
Sparrow brings up an interesting point. She says holodecks don't seem like a good way to maintain discipline, to be honest. I think it depends on the person, but I think you're kind of right, because if you look at people like Barclay, they just kind of disappear.
I gotta ask, why was it so easy for Broccoli to recreate everybody, but then Quark would have to like get what's her face's dimensions?
Good point.
Because Barclay's a freaking genius engineer.
The difference between holodeck and holosuite? One's a Federation thing, one's not. Maybe.
Yeah.
One has access to the Federation database, one doesn't.
That's true, because the holosuites are, I think, different technology, aren't they?
Well, they
like they're different.
They certainly weren't made by Starfleet.
No, they weren't.
Oh, that reminds me of another deep episode. I don't think you've gotten up to it yet. Blind. It's Only a Paper Moon. I was a big fan of that episode. It's after Nog, after he gets his commission on the siege of AR 558, I think it's the episode's called, where he gets his leg blown off.
Oh,
spoiler. And he goes through big like PTSD afterwards, and he escapes into the holodeck for protection, like or for a safe space, I guess would be the way to say it. I love that episode. It's just how quickly somebody can get caught up in holoddiction because you can control it as a safe environment and you know what's going to happen. Whereas in the real world, there is no control, and it's great.
Didn't he end up like living with like a what was his name? Vic
Fontaine, yeah. Because like Vic is he's meant to be the world's nicest guy, everyone's friend, and he's your protector and your confidant and everything else. And it's like, he ends up living in there, and I could see that. I could see someone wanting to escape war and a permanent injury and a maiming and everything like that, and escape into this world where you got this best friend and everything's under control and everything's fun. And
Vic was one of those few that wasn't programmed. He had his own free will, didn't he?
Yeah, it was like they never really said what was going on with him, like that he was aware that he was a holodeck character, but it was like he was programmed to respond like he was aware. They kind of played it off on Voyager, like the Doctor somehow was self-aware, but Vic was, but yet no other one was. You know what I mean?
But the Doc had to he had to be self-aware. He was more of a holographic android, if you will, than a hologram. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, they play really fast and loose with the ideas of artificial intelligence in Star Trek. It's like they are sapient and sentient and shut up. Moving on, because the story is never about the artificial intelligence. It's about dealing with the conflicts that they run into or something like that. So
they had a problem with the Doc and Voyager where his memory got full and started just deleting shit.
Yes. Well, the thing with Voyager is the Doctor was never created and intended to be on the holodeck. The Doctor was created and intended to be outside of the holodeck in sickbay.
Yeah.
So he's purposely driven in a different direction. So he's going to have to be different than a typical hologram would be.
Yeah. He's not a character. He's not a fictional character that you've just programmed from something. Like, he has to interact with the
real world.
With the real world. So he has to have more, artificial intelligence than... They
never really explain it, though. You just have to kind of figure that out for yourself.
Yeah. That's why I say he's more like Data than a hologram. Like, he's a lot more like Data than a hologram. Except he has emotion.
I'm really looking forward to us doing the first episode of Voyager, because that's going to give us more of a chance to talk about Voyager.
Yes, that's next week.
Yes.
Is there anything else from the... are we talking about the first two episodes? Part 1 and Part 2? Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else from that we want to hit on? We hit on Odo just a little bit.
Yeah, I like to talk about Odo a little bit more because I really enjoyed his character. Even right from the pilot, when Cisco basically when Cisco makes his first command decision on DS9, which is basically like, no, Quark, you're not leaving. You're gonna stay here and you're gonna build this community and you're gonna be a leader. And Quark's like, what? Right?
Community leader.
And all Odo says after everyone is dispersed is, I think I'm going to like him. Like, just...
Yeah. He said, I was prepared not to.
Yeah. Like, I really enjoy Odo, and it might be because I really like the actor that played Odo, René Auberjonois. He's great in pretty much anything he's in.
I love Odo as a detective, as a security officer, all of those things. What I don't like him as is anything that's like, anytime where he's like, oh, I love being in the Great Link. And it's like, yeah, Renee, you can't do those roles well. As soon as he's happy or he's in love with Kira, or he's talking about how much he loves Kira, it's like, Okay, yeah, you need to be a detective again because this is not working for you, buddy. That's just me.
I
love the shape shifting.
Yeah.
What was the episode where Odo ended up getting was it like I think it was Dax's thing that she had to let all her personalities.
Oh yeah, he became Curzon.
Yeah, it was a mix of the two, and he didn't want to go back.
Yeah.
Well, what did you guys think of that episode?
That was an interesting episode. I thought it was both comedic and deep at the same time.
Is that anything like Tuvok and Neelix being transported together to one person, not wanting to go back?
Sort of.
Except not nearly as infuriating.
You didn't like Tuvix? Well,
I know I did not like Tuvix.
We'll save that for next week.
That episode had a different. I think Quark ended up being like an old lady or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point out how they recycle these stories over and over again. Because how many times in the original series was Kirk fighting in a computer?
Yeah,
I think eight or nine stories were all him fighting against the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Look, that'll happen in any series. You'll have the Groundhog Day episode where they're stuck in a time loop.
Yep.
Well, they did that too. Cause and effect, time loop.
Well, but that's why it explains yet again why Kirk is my favorite, because everybody is every Starfleet captain riffs off of Kirk, like every actor. He set the mold, man.
You know who I feel.
You're absolutely right, Polly.
No, he's not. Absolutely wrong.
Are you feeling familiar?
All right. Outside of all the captains, you know who I kind of feel sorry for? And any guesses?
The any
Jonathan
captain?
Archer?
Yes.
Oh, you feel sorry for Archer?
Yeah, because nobody really cares about Archer because how many seasons? 4 seasons?
This is something that me and Polly agree on, though. Go ahead, give it to him, Polly.
Well, I think Enterprise really needs to be revisited. It's underrated. There's actually a hell of a lot of quality going on there.
Absolutely.
They canceled them right as it was starting to get interesting.
I agree completely. Like it was a financial decision and so on, but the 4th season is fucking just golden episode after golden episode. It's awesome. And then
let's just ignore the episode with Sarah Silverman in it.
Wait, hold on. I remember the Voyager episode.
Fucking Voyager had it. My bad. Yeah.
Okay. God, you were like, I was like, she was in Enterprise too.
No.
I just
Prospero says Picard didn't riff off of Kirk. Riker did. I'll agree with that.
When I say riff off of, I mean at least in reference to, because it's like he's going to be not the rough and tumble, super charismatic captain like Kirk. He's going to be different than Kirk. He's going to be the diplomat, whatever. But you still have to look at Kirk and say, how much or little are you going to be like him?
Well, again, Polly and I have had this discussion before, and it's known dogma, or I shouldn't say dogma. I wouldn't say it's known fact, but it's been corroborated several times that Roddenberry's idea for TNG was to take the Kirk character and split him into 2 pieces. He took the thinker, the tactician, and made him Picard, and he took the cowboy and made him Riker.
Yeah.
It's not unfair.
Talking about the captains, like, do you guys even acknowledge the new Star Trek shit?
No.
What is it? Disco?
It doesn't exist.
No.
It's
after
STD. Social transmitted disease.
we're in a different era now. I tell Star Wars fans where they're like, what am I supposed to do with all this Disney stuff? And I'm like, personal canon. You decide now what's canon and what's not.
Yep.
I used to be a big guy with like Paramount makes those calls of what's canon, what's not. And when they said that TAS, the animated series, was considered canon, I was like, it's a great day. Now, whoever's making decisions at Paramount needs to get fucked because
I hate it because I try to look at like the timelines to see like, all right, where was Voyager along with Deep Space Nine, along with the Next Generation, and then you got fucking Disco, and Disco's all over the fucking place and doesn't make any sense.
Metaphorist in chat says STD can die in a fire.
You know what pissed me
I'm right there
off?
with you, buddy.
You know what pissed me off about Star Trek Discovery was.
Oh, let's not talk about it.
I just have to say it. The Klingons.
Yeah, I know. Like, how's that supposed to be canon? Like, get fucked, you guys. Like,
And I got into a huge argument with my father because he's like, "Well, these are early Klingons," and I'm like, "No, they're not. If you pay attention to any fucking Star Trek lore, the Klingons have been doing the way that they do things for millennia. You cannot say that these are early fucking Klingons when Star Trek Discovery is supposed to take place, what, 10, 15 years before Kirk? Something like that?
Yeah.
Fuck that argument.
It's a very expensive
Star Trek disease.
That's all.
Star Trek disease, yes.
It frustrates me because people hammer, like you were saying, that it's Enterprise is underrated, right?
It is.
I remember people pointing at the oh, well, it's not consistent because look how much more advanced the technology is on. It's like, that's what you're complaining about. Have you watched STD? I'll show you some fucking things to actually complain about in terms of continuity.
There are some things that are better, but it's story driven. It's plot driven. They really don't have too much of a choice. But I mean, the ship launches without phasers. It gets phasers that are nothing. The size of the ship is nothing compared to MCC 1701. You know, I mean, look at the Defiant that they get. How much more powerful than the Enterprise is. It destroys the Enterprise in a couple of frames, like nothing. So yeah, some of the technology, as far as how the buttons are pushed or something like that, may be one thing. But when it comes right down to the major plot of how technology is, yeah, the TOS is far advanced. I mean,
I let it slide.
There, I'll go right there. TOS has shields.
Yeah, I let it slide on a lot of things. The only thing I didn't let it slide on was that opening song.
Yeah, most of my friends hated that song. I'll right there with you.
I warmed up to it.
Well, it's not a song that was written for the show. That song existed before the show.
Yeah. What annoyed me about it is that when they in what was it, season 2, when they re-recorded a fast-paced version of it.
I think it was season 3.
And they include drums in it too. They changed the jump track. Yeah.
It's like, you should have just left it. Because I get it, the song's about like adventure and nothing's gonna hold me back. And I get what you were going for. It was a bad idea. I ended up warming up to it, but you should have just stuck to your guns with the slower, more epic version.
Are we talking about the DS9 intro or
Enterprise?
Enterprise.
DS9 too.
Yeah, the DS9 faster paced one I liked, and they added a few extra crewmen and some ships and some different things. Like the intro kind of changed a little bit over time, but
yeah, well, you see the Defiant undocking, you see the shuttlecraft come at the screen. There's a lot of changes they made. They basically rewrote. They actually, if you look at what they did with TNG, they fixed that too, because there was a video glitch in the original TNG intro that they had to fix. Third season, they fixed it, where they're panning past Saturn and the stars don't match.
Yeah,
I hated one thing about the TNG intro. You'd like fall asleep watching an episode and go on to the next episode, and there's parts where like the fucking ship just go. And you're like, okay, what? Oh,
no, I have fallen asleep to a setup queue of TNG, and you can't do it because one episode will, as soon as the episode ends, it's like those French horns come in and it dun, 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 dun. It's like, oh fuck, well, I'm not asleep anymore. It's
I fell asleep.
So true.
I fell asleep during Deja Q somehow. I don't know how. I think I was sick. And at the end, when the mariachi band comes on, scared the shit.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Is that where he says, "Oh, you weren't so stolid before the beard"? Was that?
Yes.
That comment?
Yeah.
I forgot about that scene. Yeah.
I always thought Riker should have gone on his own show.
Yeah, they should have made him captain of the Titan. That should have been the spin-off. I would have watched that shit instead of DS9. That would have been a great show. He's the captain of the Titan, and he pulls people from the Enterprise onto the ship. That would have been fantastic.
At least he lightened up a little bit, Jonathan Frakes. Like he loosened up as an actor. In the first couple of, especially the first season, he's so stiff. Like I mean, he was a soap opera actor, and you can totally tell.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's because his wife was too. But the point is, he was very stiff in the first season, and part of the, some of the second season too, before he actually looked like he actually could move in a regular fashion.
Characters. All right. Since we're talking about the first episode of Deep Space Nine, what characters do you think totally like their appearance and everything? Because of course, Cisco, you have the fucking, he starts out a season just me just shave my head.
Well, that was a contract thing, right? You know about that?
No.
He was going to quit the show unless he was allowed to wear his hair the way he did in that episode, that TV show that he was in before. What was it called? Arrow or something like that? What was this show that he was in before where he was a thug cop or something? Hawk. There it is. Yeah, he said that I want to wear my hair like I had, or my hair, and I want a beard and all that kind of stuff like I had back in Hawk, or I'm leaving. So they said okay. He didn't want to have the hair. He prefers to be bald. He's bald in real life. I mean, he can have hair. He can grow it. He's not bald because he's old, but he's bald because he prefers it.
Yeah. But everybody else kind of like, all right, Odo, I think, what was it? He got a little bit more control of his shifting.
Not enough. They never progressed him enough as they should have. They should have progressed him to the point where he looked like a human being.
Well, that's the thing that kills me. Like, you see him turn into a hawk with perfectly formed feathers and shit, or an eagle, whatever he did. But, he can't get ears right. Like, oh, fuck off. Like,
I could never quite get the nose.
Okay, all right. Here's something that bothered me about his people. Why did they all have the hair? I understand why he had the hair like that, because it was molded after, the guy that he saw as his father or whatever. But why did every other person in his race have the Odo hair?
Good call.
I don't know. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, it's slicked back. It looks like it's like really slicked back, like gel or.
Why couldn't the chick that was in charge do a better job at a face than Odo did?
I think she was. You could explain it away like in sort of like a Marvel No Prize way, where she was just looking like Odo looked, because she was basically wearing a variation of a Bajoran security uniform anyway, in terms of like the color and stuff. But I think it was a lack of imagination in terms of casting, because the female changeling, they just grabbed the actress from the Chase episode of TNG, where they're.
Oh, is that where she's from?
Yeah, like they're looking for the genetic code, and the creature who shows up at the end through the tricorder projection. That's the female changing, and she pretty much looks exactly the same. The makeup's the same and everything. Like it, that was a lack of imagination in casting. Well, we had another actress, and she looked pretty much like this. Let's just find her. Shit.
I think by the late 5th, early 6th episode, he should have gotten to the point where he was capable of being just as human looking as anyone else. Maybe he couldn't hold it for very long, maybe for only a couple of hours or something like that, but he should have been able to do it by that point. Come on.
Who else was there? Like Brian really didn't change much. Jake, he just fucking grew up.
Yeah.
Stopped being a little kid. And
Brian was already fully recognized as he was on TNG, so he didn't really have far to go on.
Well, so I disagree with that, because you don't, like, a little bit about O'Brien in TNG, but he's not a main character, right? He
gets a middle name. He's a second.
Of course, he gets a middle name because his wife has to yell at him in one scene as a child. So,
that
she's
really
even annoying.
bothered me.
That was a really disturbing scene.
Well, when she was a little girl.
When she was a little girl and she was all like rubbing on him and shit. And he's like, "Here, let me be tender with you." And he's like, "Ugh."
Okay, you guys lost me. What are you talking about?
Oh,
Rascals.
I think it was in. I think it was in Voyager. Her, Whoopi Goldberg.
No, that was
no, it's
TNG.
Oh, the
The
TNG
episode was called Rascals.
Rascals,
Yeah, TNG. So they come back through the transporter as kids. That's the
Right.
episode where Picard is all young and stuff.
I want to
And-
see my father. I want to see him now.
My father.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a scene where she sits next to O'Brien, and it comes off like, "What, you don't find me attractive as a 10-year-old?"
Oh,
Like,
Miles Edward O'Brien, I am still your wife. Yeah, but you're 10. Well, Dr. Crusher says it's more like 12. Yeah, that doesn't help.
What do you do if she pushes it? You're Miles, and she pushes it, and she pushes.
oh, you can see it on
goes.
his face.
What do you? What do you end up doing? Do you acquiesce to her and live with your own discomfort, or do you push her off and possibly damage your marriage? How do you deal?
That's hard. That's fucking hard.
Yeah, his stance was, "I ain't fucking a 10-year-old."
If you're married to Keiko, you view it as a gift from God, and
An opportunity?
that's right. And it's like, oh, thank Christ. This is the marriage is over, and it's totally because of the child thing, not because you're a fucking harpy or
And what happens afterwards? Does she say, you just had sex with a child? I mean, would it be like Keiko to turn that around?
Yes.
Of course it would. Miles, you're a pedo. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She would definitely hold it over him.
What did he see in her?
I don't know.
What was the motivation for him to marry her?
if you watch like Data's Day, great TNG episode, pretty much universally loved, and it's like they never talk about why these two are in love, like what they see in each other or anything.
You didn't even know they were together until that episode, and then they're getting married.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely opposites, isn't
rabbit
it?
time? What happened? You know.
They're definitely opposites. I mean, their cultures are almost, I guess, in a way opposite. But they're one's an engineer, one's an artist, one's a linguist. You know, it's like, why are these people together?
There's multiple couples that aren't even of the same fucking species. So that isn't a major thing. It's a thing of they just don't seem like a compatible fucking couple.
Temperament, yes. Temperament is the problem. There's cross species romance, and that's not the problem. The problem is temperament.
What I find funny is didn't the actors not like each other either?
Oh, really? I didn't heard that.
That'd be good to know.
Yeah.
I don't know that. That'd be interesting.
Well, has Keiko been in anything before or after that? Because O'Brien, the actor, is a well-known actor. He's probably one of the most well-known actors on the show.
Oh yeah.
All of his work before Star Trek, and I don't remember ever seeing the actress who's Keiko before or after.
And and Cole Meany has continued to get really good roles.
He was on Deadwood. He was on a lot of great shows.
He was on Law and Order for an episode. He was actually he was the criminal on an episode of Law and Order.
He plays criminals a lot.
Yeah. He was actually in a recent horror movie that wasn't too bad for it being a recent horror movie called Secret of Emily Blair, I think. Something like that. It was a possession movie, and he played the priest.
Oh yeah, and he was very briefly in Die Hard 2. I forgot about that.
Oh shit, he was.
Yeah, right before he blew up. Yeah.
I just looked up her thing. Her acting thing isn't that fucking thick. In the last 10 years, she's only 4 movies. The next one is Mulan. She's gonna be in Mulan live action.
Wait a minute, Sloane's in Die Hard 2 as well. From Section 31. He's the criminal.
He is. You're right. Right. He's the guy who gets the terrorist boss onto the plane. I remember that.
Yeah. The guy who's doing martial arts naked in his hotel room at the beginning. Yeah, that's
right. Like you do.
Like you do. Yeah, that's right.
Apparently he was in Stargate Atlantis as well.
Oh wait. Keiko O'Brien was in some notable roles such as Chinese Mom.
Impressive.
Oh shit!
What was the food that she prepared? Was it plankton loaf? Was that the?
Yeah, that scene really pisses
couldn't
me off
cook.
because it sums up what's going on between them. That was a great episode with oh shit! The captain of the Phoenix had decided no, the Cardassians are faking us with this treaty.
Right.
The wounded.
Yeah.
The wounded, right?
The wounded was yeah.
Great episode. But you get that unfortunate scene where it's like this
They
is
sing
kelp buds and plankton loaf. That's what you know. Keiko,
Sea berries.
you've been introducing me to all of this wonderful food you're accustomed to. I thought I might do the same for you. And she sneers and goes, I don't know, like what? And it's like, oh, I see. So he's got to eat all of your fucking seaborne shit, but you don't want to have his scallop potatoes, huh?
And then she was like, your mother would touch raw meat. Like, what a savage. You know what I mean? It's like
they don't have sushi, you know?
Yeah, good call. And then he puts the scalloped potatoes in front of her and she goes, what are these little black things?
capers.
It's like, yeah, capers. It's like, they're like your black little heart, you know?
Apparently she was in MASH. She was in MASH apparently. Pinkalo says.
Oh yeah, she was at Klinger's love interest, right?
Was she?
Yeah, I think she was like
Sun Lee? Was that her name? Sun Lee?
No idea.
yeah, I think she was Klinger's little honey on the side that he had.
Pick up her eye up, DB. Who else have we not hit on?
You want to hit Keiko? What?
No.
Smack her.
I'm just waiting for us to get around to Lita. That's what I'm waiting for.
Her breakout role was Soon Lee.
Yeah. She was annoying too. I didn't like Lita.
Rita?
Oh my
The Dabo girl.
Amazing. She was.
Oh, her. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Remember when? What was the EMH's programmer, Dr. Zimmerman?
Yes.
When he showed up on DS9 to make the LMH, and they're talking about Lita. That was a great scene. It's like, that's Lita. Oh, she's beautiful. She's my ex-girlfriend. And then you just see Zimmerman look over at him like, that was your ex-girlfriend. Really?
What did you guys feel about since you bring up the fucking thing? How do you feel about the Julian Bashir being engineered or whatever, genetically engineered?
They were looking for controversy for him. I thought it was manufactured.
It felt manufactured, but I agree. But they ran well with it. They were looking for something to do with this fucking guy, but they ended up doing some interesting stuff.
One thing interesting about him, and there was nothing interesting about him.
I liked how they did. I like how they covered it though, because they kind of made it like his parents kind of felt like he was, like they were trying not to say it, but his parents felt like he was retarded.
You know who I felt bad for? O'Brien.
Yeah,
because he was like, all this time you've been trying to not beat me at fucking darts, motherfucker.
Yeah, and what an odd situation on set. It's like, okay, let me see if I get this straight. Dr. Bashir is taking care of Kira Nerys, who is having Miles O'Brien's baby, though he's never had sex with her, but yet the actress is legitimately pregnant with the actor who's playing Dr. Bashir's baby.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
Right. Oh man,
Wild.
Consenting adults.
Have you ever looked up Alexander Sid? Because he went by Sidigel Fidgel or whatever for the first couple of seasons in the credits, and then changed his name to Alexander Siddig. But if you ever looked up like his full name, it's like Siddiq El Fijl Muhammad, blah, 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 blah. Like it just goes on, and there's a few names in there too. It just, yeah.
Hold on, I'll try. Let me see. Siddiq El Tahir El Fadil El Sadiq, Abdurrahman Mohammed Ahmed Abdel Karim El Mahed.
Jesus.
See what I'm saying? I wasn't exaggerating.
And it looks even worse in Arabic.
Yeah, I'm looking at it in Wikipedia. That's nasty.
Hey, Blaine, give me a wrench in chat. I want to paste the link.
Fucking Mexicans get shit for a long name. Holy shit.
Can you post something so that I can click on your name?
Okay.
Mm.
There you
Yeah. I'm looking through trying to find other.
There you go, Hammer.
How do you find names to click on them, Blank?
I have to, so you have to, when you're using the voiceover, you touch on the screen, and you won't necessarily know, I have to go, I can find live chat at the top.
Yeah.
So then I put my thumb near the bottom of my screen because that's where the show latest messages button is. And then if I put the double tap that, it'll show me the last the last message, and then I can swipe left through the chat with my thumb, and it'll tell me the timestamp and whoever's talking, and then you just double tap on what you want to activate.
Okay.
I post a link of Lita. The actor's name is Chase Masterson.
Oh, okay. I've heard of Chase. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty, actually.
Hmm. One of my favorite episodes of Deep Space Nine was not a significant one, but it was a Quark one where he inherited money because Morn died.
Yeah. And it was the fight to get Morn's money, and his ex-wife shows up and everything. Yeah, that was great. That was great.
And then at the end, Morn just shows up. He's still alive. And all the latinum is in his stomach. He just spits it up.
No wonder all his hair fell out.
the gold press latinum, I was like, okay, it's valuable because it's gold. And then one day Quark is like, they had to fucking ruin it by wrapping it with this fucking worthless gold.
Which is a funny thing, because they go back and forth between whether gold's worth anything or not. Because in the first Ferengi episode, they're on TNG. With the portal and everything, they're trying to steal their communicators because and they adorn themselves in gold. Terrible thing to do with the precious metal. Well, I thought it was worthless to you. And then Tom Paris in an episode of Voyager is talking about Fort Knox and mentions that a group of Ferengi tried to break into Fort Knox 10 years ago. And it's like, why would they if it's worthless to them? So they're kind of back and forth on it.
Yeah. Well, maybe because they use it to wrap it the latinum in. Right.
I was actually just reading about a member of the Lucchese crime family. His son went and did 10 years back in the 1960s. Their scam was to get a whole bunch of nickels and melt them down for the precious metal content in them and sell it off on the black market. And I was like, that's a thing? That's interesting. I didn't realize there was actual precious metal worthwhile in coins.
Anyway,
I'm going way off of the pilot episode of DS9 now. Excuse me.
I'm serious. You didn't realize that at one time coins actually had like silver and nickel and
I did realize that, but I didn't realize that there would have been enough of a value in it that they would have been worth more as the coins as opposed to the metal within them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Dollars used to be made out of gold in the United States.
Thanks, Nixon.
Yeah, Nixie boy. Actually, Wilson and some of anyway. Let's not get into that.
Okay, here's an answer of why apparently in Star Trek gold can be replicated, Latinum can't.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Well, I imagine it's more complicated. Latinum, the way the molecules are put together, it's too complicated for the
Replicator,
but not too complicated for a transporter.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
And the reason it's hard to handle in its rare form, but when combined with gold, it makes it easy to be portable. So that's why.
I did like the idea of latinum being liquid and encased in gold. It was an interesting idea, but then it doesn't make much sense in the early episode of DS9 where the guy comes on board who has those probability altering spheres.
Right.
And he opens up the competition bar next to Quark, and when he steals Nog as an employee, Quark yells out, "Be careful, he shaves the latinum," which I thought was funny as hell, but what would that be of value to shave latinum?
Yeah. How would you shave the liquid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair play. So who didn't we cover? Did we cover all the characters?
I think.
Kind of hit on Cisco a little bit. Who did we not hit? I guess, did we talk about Worf in any length?
Well, he comes in later.
Yeah, I keep thinking about Worf and Eddington, because Eddington, I fucking hate that bastard.
Traitor.
The one I hate is Alexander Roshenko.
Oh God, yeah. It's that when he was a kid on TNG, he was obnoxious. When he was a teenager on DS9, he was obnoxious. That kid's just fucking annoying. I blame his mother.
All the Roshenko kids. All the actors.
Apparently, one of the ones that played him or whatever died earlier this year. Actually, January 1st.
Oh.
Huh.
Yeah. He was like in a punk band and was a real asshole. I mean, come on, you're
an asshole in a punk band. Let me get my mind around that.
I always just hated that character because it was like it made no sense. Him coming back in time to save himself and blah blah blah, but he still ends up being a total pussy.
What about the second Dax? We didn't really talk about her.
I was a fan. Nicole Bohr.
I couldn't get into the second Dax.
I just really, I know you're a fan of Terry Farrell, but I never was. So I was.
Terry's tall and brunette. I mean, that hits my top two right there.
Yeah, but I like cute freckled little Nicole Bohr. I was totally okay with that.
It just bothered me because it was what, the last season that she came in.
Yes, just the last one. Yeah.
It just seems like it was, we already had an established crew, and now we have to deal with this, getting in the way and clunky. Yeah, she felt like a clunky character.
Strange replacement, badly done.
You know how tall Terry Farrell really is?
7 feet tall.
Realistically, do you know how tall she is?
6
Anybody?
feet. 6 feet.
She is exactly 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man! That's
she's shorter than me, and that's all that matters.
Some movie somewhere. That's a big bitch. I forget what movie it's from. 6 feet tall, tall girl.
That's from Beverly Hills Cop 2 when he sees what's her name? The blonde with the short hair.
Oh, right.
Married to Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Brigitte Nielsen.
Right.
Yeah, he goes, woof, that's a big bitch.
Yeah. Nicole de Boer. She's Canadian.
Oh,
5'5", tiny.
Yeah, she was adorable.
Relatively.
Yeah.
Esri Dax.
So what else is there? We've covered most characters. We covered the Messiah story. Well, this
You
is
want to
where
talk?
it all started. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the ship? We talked about the base station, the station.
Ooh, the Defiant.
We didn't hit the Defiant very well, did we?
I like the idea of the Defiant, honestly.
I thought we were supposed to be just doing the pilot. Are we going like full DS9 now?
Yeah, we seem to be going full DSI, and we're way off the pilot now.
Well, we can.
We've been off the pilot for about half an hour.
We can.
The reason
we can speak to the fact that Defiant was added from the original, because there was no Starship. It varied so much. The format of the show from day one varied so much from every other Star Trek show of having a ship that went places. So this still kind of talks about the initial format of the show.
Well, we can talk about the wormholes and
That's true. I like the idea that they had a way to go to the Gamma Quadrant and explore the Gamma Quadrant, because it kind of gave you both. It kind of gave you a sense of comparison. Like the Gamma Quadrant's a little bit more wild than the Alpha Quadrant, it seems to be, and you kind of get the comparison between the two. Whereas a series like Voyager, you're just thrown into the frickin' Delta Quadrant, and it's just the wild wilderness of space, basically.
Wild West, yeah.
But it's kind of an interesting opportunity to have exploration, as well as, because they did use the wormhole not just for introducing the war with the Dominion, but they did go exploring in the Gamma Quadrant. First in the runabouts, and then in the Defiant later. Because even though they weren't supposed to, they were like, "Fuck it, we're gonna go do this science mission in the Defiant. We'll just cloak." they did that a couple of times, I noticed. But it was really interesting that they used a wormhole like that, because in the other Star Trek series, wormholes were notoriously unstable. And
what was it? Was it Next Generation where somebody was trying to sell a wormhole?
Yes. Yep. That episode was called The Right Price.
Right Price.
And it was they were selling a wormhole that was supposed to be a stable wormhole to the Delta Quadrant. Or no, to the Gamma Quadrant. Sorry. And they ended up finding out that it was fixed in the Alpha Quadrant, but not fixed at the other end. So that was one instance where wormholes were unstable. Voyager really talks about how unstable they are. You see that a lot with the Eye of the Needle, which is an episode we can talk about next week too, because we always end up talking about more than the pilot when we do these. But like I said, I think it was a really cool plot device to have a stable wormhole that you could use for both a war plot and an exploratory plot.
I did like the inside of the wormhole. I thought the effects that they used for while you were traveling inside the wormhole were excellent effects.
I agree. I liked them too.
I think at some point during this show, they should have taken the space station through the wormhole. That would have been awesome.
They almost did when Q was there.
But spend some actual episodes on the other side. That would have been kind of awesome.
Would the space station have been able to withstand it though? Because when in Q-less, when they were losing orbit around the wormhole, they were pretty damn worried.
You know, it's interesting why the show ended up on a space station in the first place. It was almost shot as a colony planet. That's my understanding. And it was actually an economic decision as much as it was anything else. They didn't want to have the expense of shooting on location. They wanted to do everything on sets, which they could do, depicting the space station much more easily, with matte paintings and stuff, than they could with on location connect. I'm
gonna hop out. We've run into the minions.
Yeah,
I
was just about to say.
I want to go over there too.
We're gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys for coming out.
Yay! More Star Trek.
Thank you for having me.
And we hope to see you guys next week. Failure, if you want to, you're more than welcome to come back anytime. And thank you guys again so much for coming. I just want to make a quick announcement to chat. I actually want to thank you guys so much for your awesome donations. You've gotten me a really nice comfy desk chair that doesn't hurt my back.
Nice.
So thank you guys so much. So as always, thank you guys so much for coming out. Please like and share the stream. If you're interested and or able, the links for Streamlabs and Patreon are in the description. We'll hope to see everybody back next week for the Star Trek stream, where we talk about the pilot episode of Voyager and inevitably other episodes. And see everybody tomorrow night for Blind in the Special, where I'll probably be playing Soul Calibur and wishing that I could play Soul Calibur 6. So have a great night, everyone. Be sure to go check out Minions of the Zoo. They're a great group of people, which I love being a part of. And we'll talk to everybody soon. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.